Hi, and welcome to episode 1. Actually, this is the second episode after the fundamentals, but we still call it 1 because we are What.io, so we want to do that. This episode is all about assemblies and structures, products and parts, components, and we're going to go through actually quite detailed how you set things up in a digital product passport when it comes to very complex assemblies. And also explaining why we do that, because obviously we want to have a product to survive as long as possible. So it should be able to be maintained, repaired, and so on. And that's why it's very important to look at spare parts and additive manufacturing, and actually figuring this out is our expertise. So welcome to Products and Parts. So let's start with some definitions. So we define a product, which is like the main thing. It can hold other parts. An example is this one. So this is actually a product, even if it's, in this case, it's a sub-product, but it can hold other parts. So it has the M6 black anodized bolts. It has individual multiple parts. It has the connectors and so on. So this is actually a product. It can also have, a product can hold other products, and then you can define the other products as sub-products, and we're going to look at that too. This main product can hold basically all the certificates. It can have all the links, and the structure on the cloud is basically to hold the assembly for this product. And in this case, we had a QR code. Yeah, you see a QR code that can be scanned. So, and when you scan that, you will actually see all the structure below. A product gets the fabricated unit. So when it's fabricated and you actually made a new item, it will then get the fabricated unique ID. And then that's when the chip, the NFC tag, basically is burned. So here's the NFC tag, which is then connected, or the QR code, whichever. So a product is normally what holds the chip, and you don't need to have an identifier like an NFC tag or a QR code on each and every individual part, and not even actual sub-products. But this is how it works. So What.io's back office system keeps track of everything, all the granular kind of sub-tree and substructure. It's controlled by What.io in this case. So basically, we built it in a way also that the assembly can hold an unlimited number of products, sub-products, and down. So there's no limitation on how many granular levels you can go down to. It's basically infinite in theory, of course. A part is an item that is either a component, something you buy from an OEM or manufactured by somebody, or it's something you do manufacture yourself as a fabricated item through a CNC machining or molding or any other machine items you have, or if you use 3D printing, you would manufacture a lot of your own items. These parts can have links. They can be linked to an e-commerce site. So if you want to kind of link them to Amazon or your own WooCommerce Shopify site, that works well. You can also allow self-print. If you're using additive manufacturing, you can actually host the 3MF and STL files in our system. And thirdly, you can also have a make it function, which What.io is then connected to different fabrication systems like SimplyPrint, which will be a completely episode by itself because it's pretty advanced. But basically, that's what you can do with parts. So yeah, so what is a part? So typically, a part could be a capacitor. This is beautiful Bevembi capacitors, handmade, actually. So this is a typical part. It can hold data, of course, but it doesn't have its DPP by itself because it's something that is never a product. This is typically something which will go into a system. Same would go with this beautiful binding post in carbon fiber. also typical product. PCBs, circuit boards, products, any kind of component that you might call these components, but anything like what you have in stock and what needs to be kind of used for assemble, and you're OEMing it or buying it from the outside. So parts in what IO can also be things you manufacture yourself. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be, this is a laser cat foam. So use the very nice laser to build those. That's something you do in-house, and then that also become a part. And actually what we see on the picture there, this is a part of a stand for Infinite Acoustics, 3D printed in 100% recycled materials. This is also defined as a part. And yeah, and the list can obviously go on. Also can show this is also part. It needs more components to go together, but this actual item I hold in my hand is a part. So of course this part could be adding all these different other connection points and stands and everything, and then it could be defined in combination as a product. And that could be the part that actually carry the chip or the NFC tag. It's quite flexible where you put it. So if we look a little bit into our system, this is typically what the part information of a part would contain. You would obviously have a defined name. You would have a SKU or an article number, which should be unique. And this is obviously something you would have yourself. You would have a part description and also manufacturing method. And why we also have manufacturing method is that we have intention to add a lot of other sub-databases that based on the manufacturing method you use. So if you have a rotational molded piece, it's not something we at the moment use, but if we would add here that you use additive manufacturing, FDM, we would know how to calculate the CO2 from the factory level, so to speak. You can choose a material, and of course these are mainly parts that are contains of one material. If it's more materials, you need to actually choose the main one. How many you need in a typical case, and how much they weigh, and also if there is a file numbering sequence. So you want to keep track of versions and so on. You can actually change the part file number version. If you use that from SolidWorks or Fusion 360 or something like that, you can use the versioning. More in that continuous dialogue when you set up a part is something you can decide as a manufacturer. Is this something we will actually allow the makers and people with 3D printers to actually make this part themselves basically in their garage, or make it in a factory or whatever? Then you have the ability to click the box self-print. That will allow the DPP to actually give away and allow for download of the 3D models. If you don't hit this button, they will not be downloadable. They can still be printed and made at authorized service agencies with 3D printers. And for that, of course, you need to have the models. And uploading is in two formats. It's 3MF, which is the future of 3D, which also have metadata on it. And we can also secure those more and safe keep them with the technology we have developed called 3MF Vault. Or you upload STLs, which is basically the base geometry for manufacturing in this case. You also can upload one image. There is one image limitation on parts. This is of course because it ends up in a spare parts section, and it will be a lot of data if we would have multiple images. So it's an illustration of the actual part. You basically click choose file, you choose a small JPEG or PNG, and up it goes. There's also an opportunity to put the URL, so the buy part link you see at the bottom. This one is where you put the unique static URL, either a referral link to Amazon or a Shopify link to your own website or any other database you use, but it needs to be able to manage a a URL, which shouldn't change, obviously. And then there is a super admin option. And this is if you have a contract with us as at What.io, you can actually upload your parts and make them available for all other DPP service customers of What.io. And then they will be public. So they will be visible for everybody else also, not only in your own team. Continuing a little bit on, so this is typically a very simple assembly. This will be basically defined as a sub-product. If you want to see how it looks like, you do have a QR code there. So if you just bring up your phone, you would actually have the ability to scan that. It's quite simple. You just direct it to the QR code and say open in Chrome or whatever, and up it comes. So this is actually, using that on the screen to show a DPP. That's a possible thing to do. So it's pretty neat. So of course, if you want to use DPPs in your presentations, you cannot use an NFC tag, but you can use a QR code. So it's a very easy way. So if you do scan that now and you have a look, it's pretty neat. You see also the parts. You see the black screws. They are actually public parts available on Amazon. The actual holder of this set is 3D printed. It's downloadable because it's a free item that you also be allowed to modify. And then, of course, you have the two binding posts, which are beautiful carbon fiber pieces. This all together become basically a sub-product in the terminology of DPP and What.io. Going further, we can look at another type of product. So actually, this is the one you have in front here. So in this case, you have a lot of different parts. You have the soldering irons. You have a big power resistor in the back. You have a circuit board, handmade coils and handmade polycaps. And it's all also have some processes of assembly. So there is also cost attached to that. That means that it becomes basically a product and a sub-product by itself. You can still choose to have a NFC on it or not, but normally you wouldn't do that. You would actually integrate this in a sub-product inside in this case, it's a crossover for a speaker. You will actually involve that in the structure. So you actually don't need to do a DPP. What.io automatically does it. So if we go back again and we actually scan that on the screen, which you also can do, you will see that it ends up and you can also see that products actually have more images. If we go down, we actually come to the section where we do have very neatly all the parts that are included. But in the big sense, this would be a sub-product, as it's a combined effort, but it's something that will go inside another product. Similar is, if you look at the stands, the stands have a very rigid metal base and a metal structure. That is as a OEM product coming from the outside. And then you have all the other small nitty-gritty details and parts that are combined in this product. So you have the feet, which you see in the image here. So they contain actually of a heat insert, M6 heat insert. There is some laser cut foam, a 3D printed feet, which needs 4 of them to basically go into the center stand. So this whole stand thing, it becomes typically a combination of components, parts, sub-products, and they all go in together and form a stand with all the different features and things like that. So this would probably not have its own, unless you sell it as a separate item or product item or stock it like this. I wouldn't put a DPP on this either, because it will be actually a sub-product to sub-products up to a certain level where the DPP chip would then be. If we look at the product, then this is a cut section inside a CAD system just to see look into how it looks like. So you see there is a lot of other things that goes into a product. There is a UV printed logo. It's a non-defined part. And inside there, it's actually where the NFC tag is set. The 3D printed parts, they are patent pending in this case. So that means that they are not, and you can actually totally avoid them too. If there is parts that, physically you see that they exist, but you don't want them to show in any way, you can, of course, in the DPP, just ignore them, basically. You can still have information about them, but you don't need to give any more active details and so on. We will look a little bit at this because this is actually one of the carbon fiber speaker, which is also OEM. These are, of course, defined as a product because they have a lot of information on them, a lot of certificates and these kind of things. And they actually are sold separately. So these can be sold individually as a product, and with all the different items, we can have them defined as a sub-product. If we take a whole speaker, by the way, we can. So this is actually the speaker, what you see on the cut section here. And it's quite interesting to see that, these both speakers, in this case, this is lithium 1. You see the aluminum woofer and the silk dome tweeter. These parts is defined as sub-products because there's a lot of documentation on these. And you can find everything through the simple DPP. The NFC tag, which is, in this case, it's a little bit bigger than this one. It's hidden underneath the logo. So it's always super easy. In this case, no camera is needed. No app, nothing. Basically, you put your phone and it's automatically locate this unique item. Lithium 1 speaker, I get the serial number. I have now also all the parts. A little bit hard to see here, but you have to believe me. So this is typically one NFC tag with DPP in one single place, hidden under the logo. But our WhatIO solution keeps track of every single sub-product, product to the sub-product, and down you go, all the way down to individual parts and items. And you have full power as a manufacturer to decide what you want people to make yourself, what do they can order, or what things you don't allow them to order for free. So, talking again about the drivers, in this case, I have the carbon fiber driver. It's a sub-product. It has a lot of CE markings, a lot of other things with dangerous materials. And there's a lot of information here that you need to have, separate product sheets. And there's a lot of data you want to add to it, drawings, etc. Our system is then asking you to build this as a sub-product, not as a part, even if you could say, but hey, it's a component, I just OEM it. But parts cannot hold that much information. So when it becomes more complex items or a lot of data, you need to define this as a product. And actually, it becomes, in the system of assembly, it would become a hierarchical tree where it become a sub-product. Yeah. So the crossover, which I showed before, that's typically also a sub-product as the driver. The 3D printed chassis is one large piece, of course, but it's also have an assembly of multiple pieces put together, and so on. So if you want to have a look again, you have the ability here. You see the little QR code popped up here. So as soon as that pops up, you can actually look at the DPP and have a look. And here you get the full DPP of actually this product. You can see all the ingoing components, the 3D filament materials, even options. There is even options to to get a side stand. So even option management is possible in our system. So if we break this down and have a look, you can define these substructures inside What.io. So you basically define first all the parts by itself. Then you define the products by itself, the sub-products, and then you start to build the top hierarchy, which would then be the lithium speaker in this case, and its individual sub-products. So it's a very, very simple system. You basically just link it together, and our system will keep track of everything beneath. And here you see an example of the crossover, where all the different components are added as spare parts, because actually Infinite Acoustics in this case allow for full rebuild of this, and you can optimize it for different music or different ways. It's a fully passive crossover, by the way, but there is open mind to do new things here, and that's why also the whole full spare part library, everything is there. So in the system, it's very easy. You basically just add these parts to a product, and then that product, which is then the crossover, is added to the main product. There's another nice feature, and this comes to option management. When you want to sell additional products to the main product, or you want to help with managing different type of accessories that are extra, you can also add that to the What.io DPP very, very easily. So in this case, there is options on the Lithium 2. There is options actually to make a full wall hung system. It can actually even be put like upside down and put in the ceiling. But as you see also on the image here, there is also a way to put a nice table stand, or you can have high stand or low stand to it. So, and all these management of basic options you can actually add into the system. So I hope you get a grasp of that. It's, of course, the more complication you have in your system, the more complexity you will have in building up the system, depending on what you want to achieve. Obviously, it's a very, very flexible system, and you can also add it as you go along. You can just start building in the NFC chips, and then as you want to, be more customer friendly, more service oriented, you have the ability to update everything on the What.io cloud. So it's a dynamic link. It's super easy to work with. So let's look at the parts. They can we have two different kinds. They can be what we call local or instanced. And just let me explain, why would you do a local item? A local item would be a part that only exists in a single product. Then you don't want anybody else to use it anywhere else. It's an individual local component that cannot be repeated anywhere else. Then you use local. Then you actually define that part for the actual product. The other more normal way is that, of course, if you take these binding posts, they will be used in probably 50 different products. They will be defined as an instant product because it's a reusable item, and it's something that comes back and back and back. And then you don't need to define that. You don't need to build that part information in What.io for every single part. You do it once, and then you basically instance it. You link it into a substructure or a full product structure. But if you want to build local parts, it's fine. There is many cases when you should do it and when you have to do it. They are defined in the product editor. Super easy. You'd say new local part, click on the black button, and then you get a dialog box where you have the regular things like article number, description, part name, etc., how it's manufactured, and obviously if you want to run a full spare part management system, you can upload the 3MFs, the STL files, and so on and so forth. If you just want to sell it online, you can put the buy part link, and you have the ability to link everything to your own service system. Instant parts, they are linked to a product in the assembly. So you build an instance part, and basically you just add them in as a substructure, as seen on the picture. So you use the button called Add New Instance Part on the actual product. And it's creating the instance part. You don't do that on the product level. You have to go to the parts menu, build up the part, and then you go back and you instance it in. You link it in. So it basically can be repeated on and on and on. That's what means with instancing and instance parts. Very, very important feature. We do have a third level on the parts. It's called global instance parts. This is the same again. To make these, you need to have an agreement with us at Worio. This could be that there are parts that are beneficial for the whole industry and things that, you just want to, add them because a lot of different manufacturers use the same. We have, for instance, all our fastening systems with heat inserts. These are generic items, and we want to share these with the world. So these are global instance parts. Other kind of companies like Wirt, Alibaba, Amazon, they have the availability to actually build up this part catalog, and then we can globally instance them in the system, so they will become available for anyone to link them to their product. Okay, so now let's go to product. How do you build your own first product? Super easy. Add product. There is a first dialog box, which actually is super simple. You don't need to add much. And the reason we did it this way is that we want you to very, very quickly get started with DPPs and Worio. So the product passport is done in a minute or so. Because everything is later on editable. You can always add things later on, modify and so on. But the link you create between the tag or the QR code, that link need to be enabled quickly and in production. So basically adding a product, you need a name, description, a SKU. You can have a GTIN number if you have that, and if you need that. You can upload a couple of product images, and with products, you can upload multiple images. You don't need to stick with one. You can have multiple ones. And then you need to connect it basically to a brand or a subcategory. So these can be defined a little bit differently. And I have a whole chapter about categories and branding. So that's something we don't go too deep into this right now. But that's basically what you have to do. And when you hit save, that's basically your first product is done, and then you can actually start to create QR codes and NFC programming directly just after doing this dialogue. So it's not even a minute; it's probably 62 seconds. No, just joking. It's very, very quick, very, very easy. So after that the product is done and saved, it will be like a line item in your product editor. And you see there's a small little icon for QR codes. You can immediately now start to generate unique codes. You can immediately start to do codes which is model-based, the generic ones. And you can also, of course, make the batch ID ones. So there's also a special chapter about this, how this is done. But it's basically instant. The other thing that is happening is that as soon as you build the product in the Worio app on the mobile phone or in the microcontrollers, you are already kind of set up to be able to make the unique identifiers for the more advanced detailed QR code, NFC tags, sorry. So these NFC tags, when you want to have them as a unique item, this is basically what you will do because the system will take care of the rest. So we can test the link. So we did a very, very quick one. Again, if you want to test the link, you have the ability here to scan. This will now only be what we call a model-based DPP. So it will have generic information. It can have like instruction manuals, assemblies. It can have spare parts, everything which is common between any kind of speaker of the same. It will not be unique at this point. So because with QR and model-based DPPs, these are all the same for all the speakers. how do you add more information? Because, I mean, DPP, come on, it's not only 6 metadata. So when the first line is up, you can start to link it to products, or actually even put it in production. But to start refine with documents, parts, you need to get into the product editor. You find it by clicking on the product name. You simply just hit that in the list. And then you have a very, very extensive menu where you have statistics, which is at this point of time not implemented yet. It will be a purchasing or a web service feature. But you do have parts and subproducts. This is where you can define the assembly structure of the product. You also have fabricated units. This is when you use the What.io app to make a unique NFC tags, or you use the microcontrollers like the Arduino-based Incendos. These will all end up there. So you see how many items are fabricated, and you have the unique ID for every single item fabricated. You also have a product page editor. This is a lot of editing you can manage. And then you have a section for certificates like EPREL, EPDs, and other kind of PDF links you need to reports and documents. So we look at the parts and subproducts editor. So you have a search and filter function basic on everything. So when you have a lot of products and you want to link them in, you can just use the search and filter functions. You can add new parts here, which I showed before. That will be a local one. You can instance parts, which you then have to have built already. Obviously, otherwise there is nothing to instance. And you can also add new subproducts. And that's basically working as instancing too. So then you can put product inside products. So they will become sub-products. So typically, again, the crossover would be something you would have as a sub-product popping up on the list, and you will link it up to the main mothership, the main speaker in this case. So how would you add a local part to product? Super easy. And you just click on the button, you choose the material, you choose all the different part names, article numbers, etc., and you're home free. If we look at adding an instance parts to a product, then obviously that local part, in this case, it's the whole speaker cabinet, or we have some other part, they need to be located in the same team, and then you can actually instance them into the system. So what you have to do is, first you have to create an instance parts, go to the parts menu, you add a new part in the parts section, and basically you fill it out, you build it up, and next time you know it, it will actually be something, this is the same again. But next time you go in, you will actually see that there is an availability to choose that part in the menu. So you can select instant parts and basically just click on the ones you need and say select. That's how you bind them together, basically. So you can bind local parts and instance parts in combination, any way you like, inside the system. So in this case, why is the basic 3D printed casing for the speaker a local part? Because that one is unique for that item. It never exists in the same look and feel in any other product. That's why it's completely local. And the other reason is that this is one of the patent pendings of the speaker cabinet. So there is, in this case, no 3D files or any parts you can do. You can just see that the cabinet is there. How do you add global parts to the product? Super easy again. It's all the way down in the menu, and you basically just select them in the menu. You can filter, you can search, and you can sort in different ways, and then you add them to the actual board. Very, very easy to build the whole structure. So when you do look at it and see, so you have your main product, and again, just repeating it, the main product is the one that will hold the NFC tag. It will hold probably the unique identifier. That's data carrier that is hidden or visible, whatever, inside your product. But the system will take care of the whole substructure to what is a product, what is the parts, and what do manufacturer allow you to buy as a spare part and these. So it can be a very, very complex assembly structure, all based on the fact that how you want to run your business and how detailed you want to go to assist your customers, to enable them to repair these speakers, exchange things, remodel them and refurbish them and these kind of things. Or even in the case of Infinite Acoustics, build them yourself. This is the basis on how can you let people actually manage and build these type of things themselves. But every product, so if you compare this to other industries where you use probably digital content, very simple content for the specifications of projects or products, and like BIM and these kind of things, those are only kind of a representation in a CAD system that we don't have here. This is not representations. This is production models. These are actually 3MF and STLs where you can reproduce the things if you allow the user to do that. That's the name of the game. So that was basically what I wanted to show in this chapter. I hope you got a grip on what is a product, a sub-product, and how they all go together. And of course, if you want to scan those QR codes in the presentation, you can always go back a little bit on the YouTube video and scan those to see the digital product passport yourself. But that was it for this episode. So thank you very much.